Alaska, the last frontier. The American state is as big as France, Spain, Italy, and England combined, but has a population of just over 700,000. The state sport is sled dog racing, and once a year, its frozen wilderness plays host to mushing's most prestigious race, the Iditarod. It was July 2004 when Transworld Sport traveled to Alaska to meet up with Susan Butcher, one of the greatest mushers of all time. Between 1982 and 1990, she won the Iditarod 4 times and finished second twice.
I worked for it. I think there's truth to that, and I think that the thing that I probably do and did more so than other mushers is I've dedicated my whole life to dog mushing.
In 1994, Susan ended her Iditarod career to start a family. Born and raised in Massachusetts, Susan moved to Alaska at the age of 20 after reading about the Iditarod in a magazine. She took part in her first Iditarod 3 years later. It began a relationship that would last for the next 17 years, and her name would become synonymous with the grueling event, which takes competitors some 1,100 miles from Anchorage in the south of the state to Nome in the west.
You've got two things. It's longest and it's the toughest competition. So it's like the Indianapolis 500 of dog racing. Then the unique part is that the last 300 miles is on the coast of Alaska, and you have severe storms where it can blow between 60 and 100 miles an hour. And so even if it's not snowing from above, it'll pick up the ground snow and it'll cause these whiteout conditions, so you can't see the trail markers in front of you and you can't see your lead dog.
The harsh conditions, with temperatures sometimes reaching a savage minus 50 degrees Celsius, weren't the only difficulties that Butcher faced as she made inroads into her sport.
There were extra challenges for me because I was a woman and I was having to break down barriers, and I was certainly not accepted well in the beginning, and people would sometimes cheat against me to make sure that they won because they didn't want to be beat by a woman. And these were challenges that I had to overcome.
Susan's first win in the Iditarod came in 1986, and she went on to become the first person to win it 3 years in a row. Her 1987 victory saw her overcome arch-rival Rick Swenson.
Gentlemen, are you ready?
During the final stages, the pair became involved in a tactical battle. When it was clear that Susan would win, Swenson was livid.
She thinks she's so damn good. And what it really is she's real fortunate to have an exceptionally good leader right now at this point in her life. And when she doesn't have that dog anymore, she's going to realize that she's not quite as good as she thinks she is.
But after winning in 1987, the next year, Butcher won without that lead dog. Her fourth and final triumph came in 1990. Susan's success in such a macho sport helped to dispel the notion that women couldn't compete in extreme sports, and it led to a whole host of commercial opportunities. She shared the same agent as basketball star Larry Bird and pop group New Kids on the Block, and had audiences with Presidents Reagan and Bush. Her success made her a role model and an inspiration to many.
You know, I would get these letters, and it was really neat to hear that some woman who was fighting cancer and could barely make it to the grocery store used me as her inspiration and said, well, if Susan can make it to Nome and win, I can certainly make it to the grocery store and back. And, you know, that's very touching and it's very special.
Good, so I don't have to get gloves.
After retiring from the sport, Susan channeled her expertise in dog mushing into the breeding and training of huskies. She spent most of her time with her husband and children at her remote homestead of Eureka, deep in the Alaskan bush. Through sled dog racing, Susan won prize money totaling around $500,000. Dedication and determination were traits that characterized her whole career. But it was Susan's approach to sled dog racing and the treatment of her animals which was perhaps the most crucial factor in her extraordinary success.
Before I won, it was often said, well, Susan will never be able to win because she babies her dogs too much. And, you know, the next year, when I won, instead of coming in second place, they said, well, Susan wins because she takes such good care of her dogs. And so there had been no change in what I was doing. It had just been a changed perception.
In December 2005, Susan was diagnosed with leukemia. She fought the disease bravely, but sadly died on August the 5th, 2006, aged 51. In 2008, she was honored by the state of Alaska when, just prior to the start of the Iditarod, the then governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, signed a bill establishing the first Saturday of every March as Susan Butcher Day, a fitting tribute to a true Alaskan pioneer.